Roll call, we've got everybody here this afternoon. We have 3 additions to the agenda, numbers 4, 5, and 6 under personnel. Any others? No, that's it. Okay. For those that are looking at motion to adopt the agenda, no move. Motion by Lou. Second. And second by Bob. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. District 741 is proud of seniors Josh Bunham, Josh Anderson, Matthew Anderson, and Dan Wagner for being selected Students of Excellence, sponsored by the Resource Training Solutions. Alex Whitcomb, grade 11, for his first place finish in the humorous interpretation category in the Section 5A speech meet, qualifying for the state speech meet. Rachel McLeod, grade 11, for her second place finish in the drama category in the Section 5A speech meet and qualifying for the state speech meet. FFA Dairy Team for the 5th place finish at the state competition. Team members include Tyler Evelyn, grade 11, John Frenchick, grade 11, Sabrina Lay, grade 11, Maria Molitor, grade 12, and alternate Abby Molitor, grade 10. And 5th graders Preston Carlson and Alyssa Prigge for winning the annual Poppy Poster contest. Public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment today? Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, approve and correct the minutes for the April 24th, 2012 regular board meeting. Motion by Gretchen to approve and second by Deb. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have no items on the consent agenda this afternoon, so we will move on to number 9, business. We will be receiving reports from a number of groups today. I think Laura, you want to kind of lead through this?
Yeah, actually, for our high school group, I'll let Kellen Anderson be our spokesperson for the group. They did request some questions from board members, so I'll let him go ahead and take it.
So we got about 4 questions for you guys, and I'll just read the first one and then open it up for discussion. When thinking of fellow students in other districts, what makes you most proud of being a Paynesville Bulldog? Anybody have? That they're proud of why we're Paynesville?
This is that one.
No, I think that I like being a Paynesville Bulldog because there's not a lot of people that really give you a hard time. Like everybody gets along, I think, personally, because you're all you got. Your classmates are all you got, basically. There's only 70 of us, roughly. And if you beat or don't friend them, I mean, you could be out there alone and I mean, you can't really do much, right? So you can, but it's not that fun by yourself.
A lot of other schools are so cliquey where they have their 10 friends, their 5 friends or whatever, they hang out with. In Paynesville, you don't see that as much where everyone knows each other and everyone gets along.
I agree with Jordan 100%.
I also think too that the quality of our learning that we have is really high end, where a lot of the kids, like, they're pushed to become academically successful, and there's the drive to want to be the best that you can be, and that competitiveness in learning and sports is a really cool thing to see for kids our age, so that's why I'm proud to be a Paynesville Bulldog.
Yeah, I think that everybody genuinely, for the most part, wants to help you succeed. Like, I know, like, there's a ton of us that had just taken the ACT and we had just got our scores back, so there's a bunch of us that were, like, sitting in the library checking our scores, and I think, like, if you got a good score, Ms. Nevitt would, like, give you a hug, and she was like, oh, good job, I'm so proud of you, and then there's a couple kids that didn't do as well, and then she was like, hey, you know, if you need help studying, like, I got a bunch of resources for you, and, like they just really do want you to succeed, so that's nice.
The faculty is really there for us learning, and they're in classroom and out of classroom, so that's a plus too. All right, anything else to add for the first question? No? Okay. The second one, as they may be aware, the district is working to pass a levy in the fall. What would they think, or they being us, would be the best way to get the message out that is important to their education in the Paynesville community? Would they be willing to help? If so, how? If it doesn't pass and we are faced with cuts, what kinds of questions would they have? What cuts would you suggest? This is kind of a hard question.
Yeah, I don't know, because I really don't understand
Oh.
this whole situation that's going on, so can't really answer this one.
Do you understand the excess levy part of it?
No.
We have, okay, we have right now, it's $415 per student excess levy, and we're going to go out and ask for $723, which is closer to the average of other districts. Okay, that money goes into the general fund, which most of the educational costs come out of. So if we don't get the increase, or even if we would lose the levy we have, it's going to be significant.
They call it an excess levy, but that's just being polite. The reality is what they give each school district to educate a student in Minnesota doesn't begin to cover it. I don't think there's a dozen or more schools in the whole of the state that don't have excess levy referendums. And the more rural the schools, the more likely that you have one, just because if you're the numbers, it comes down to dollars and cents. The 419, where they get that money from, those why everybody's all very cautious about it, because it comes from property owners. Everybody pays more for taxes, but that's why it's not a huge amount. The medium house here in Paynesville would be less than $100 more a year, correct?
Like the medium's like $125.
But their total,
Yeah,
that their
total
bill would go
taxes.
up would be less than $100.
Oh, yeah. Less than 50.
But if we don't get it, like you said, ours falls off, and then we're talking really, really serious cuts.
If we don't get it, that means the public votes on this.
Yes.
So they have, on the election day, vote for the president and everything else, we'll have a school district item on that ballot. Okay, do you support increasing your taxes in order to give the school $700 and some per kid? So that's why I think the question is, how can you guys help support this and get out and support the school and look at the needs that you guys have?
What can we do for you to be more informed?
Do you understand that the majority, and we got roughly $11 million budget. The majority of that comes from the state of Minnesota. The excess is, we go to the taxpayers in District 741 and ask for an additional. That's what that levy is.
I honestly don't think that anyone did that.
Yeah.
Most students did at least.
Yeah, no.
Sounds like we need to educate our kids too.
All the process, like that was pointed out, the state gives every school district X amount per pupil. And to administer our current school with staff, programs, et cetera, you need a minimum amount of revenue to be able to offer that. And if you don't have that revenue, then you have to look at making cuts somewhere.
When we talk cuts, we've already, you got, a lot of you got older brothers and sisters, or your parents work at the school, you've been around. It's been downsizing everything for a long time. When you start making cuts, we're talking programs, we're talking classes, teachers. I mean, that's the only thing you can cut. You can't cut the size of the building, or, you know, your lunches, I mean.
It's all based on the number of students. It's roughly $6,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, right, per student. Well, if you drop off 10 students, you can do the math pretty quickly. And our estimates are for declining enrollment. So it's kind of a, it's up to us to try and keep everything operational.
Well, I feel like if more of the kids actually understand what's going on, that will help it get out there more too, because I honestly had no idea what it was. I knew it was going on, but I didn't know what it was about. I didn't understand any of it. So.
Lori.
And hearing the conversation, I think is really good. A principal advisory, what do you think about possibly inviting board members out in like groups of 2 or 3 to visit classrooms on some day and have discussions with small classes on just kind of the whole fiscal state of the school district, at the beginning of next year prior to the election? What do you guys feel your peers would think of that?
Maybe do it in a large group.
Or a large group like this,
Because
like
otherwise,
class?
yeah, because otherwise, I feel like it would work better.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
Well,
for all at once.
I don't know if necessarily like a large group, like not the entire high school work, because there's always gonna be people that are screwing around, and then the entire thing's gonna get all.
How about like classes, because we can fit like the freshman class in here, in this room, and do kind of a panel type thing, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Is this conversation interesting to you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or-
I'm following it, but if you had the opportunity, if somebody'd be interested in learning more about it.
Understand, yeah.
And the thing is, to keep it simple, because understanding school finance, it's an extremely complex issue, and we don't have, per se, a business manager dedicated to just doing that for us, but those schools that do, you talk to those business managers and ask them how complicated and tricky this whole process of school finance is. And part of the thing is because the legislature is always changing the rules. And you think you know how you're gonna do something, next time there's an election or they change the law, all of a sudden what you thought was there is not gonna be there. So there's a lot of moving parts to what goes on to public, school finances.
Are you all familiar with the shell game? You know, when you put the P in your.
Oh, yeah.
Attention please for one announcement.
So school board, with hearing that, would you open, that
baseball practice
invitation
today.
next year? I'll kind of put that in play the first couple weeks of the school year. I think that'd be great.
So I feel since it affects us, it'd be nice for everyone to understand what's going on.
Okay.
What it really affects is your grade,
Yeah.
because the present levy expires in 2013, I say that right? And if that, and we're going for an addition, and if it isn't okay, the following year, those cuts are gonna have to take place.
And some people will be a bit bold.
So do those cuts include like cutting teachers and like increasing class sizes then?
Potentially, yes. And eliminating possibly programs
It's like sports programs or like what?
and everything.
Anything that's not reading, writing, and arithmetic, anything that's not your core classes, is, I'm not saying they're all gonna go, I'm saying everything has to be.
Everything will be on the board to be looked at.
The current levy generates approximately $450 to $475. So if the election goes down,
We have to cut at least that much.
And one thing you guys can encourage is if you have brothers or sisters or friends that have brothers or sisters that are in college but still living, they can vote for our school district. Their parents are still considered residents and that piece, so they can do an absentee ballot. So that's something. There's different conditions, but some of them may qualify. And we can bring that information too.
You don't like to think of education as a business, but it still is. We have money coming in and money going out, and if you have less money coming in that's going out, you can't run.
Would you go ahead and go to number 3 then? Thank you.
Okay. You have, what do they need most from us? Do they feel that we are supportive of them and other school board members, or school board meetings in May and December? Do they feel we connect with them? Well, yeah, I feel like you guys connect with us, but like even about this levy thing too, like that kind of ties with that. Like, is it possible like we could have like a newsletter or something? So like anything that would like impact the school that we should know about it, we could put it in. Or just like have a little section of it in there.
And like a comment or
Yeah.
more information type thing?
So
I
just so.
think it's important that like the public hears from us too, because I mean, they hear from you guys all the time, but it's just like when we like had all like our heating stuff last year, like they didn't really know if we needed to spend all that money, but we do because it was bad. So I think like this is an important thing that like we need to say, so I think it's important for like students to vocalize it too. So like even if like Mike Jacobson came in and did like an article on it or something, and like interviewed students, because it's a really big deal.
Yeah, so kind of saying totally.
I heard you, Sophie.
Hello.
But part of the process is educating yourself to the extent you can too, because it's not an easy subject to understand, and it's difficult, and we get confused at times too because of everything that's going on. We try to utilize all the resources we have available to us to get the answers, but sometimes what you think is the answer is not always a black and white answer. It's sometimes a lot of gray area, and that's just a reality of the situation. But yeah, to educate yourselves as to why and how everything works, the funding mechanisms, et cetera, is going to be beneficial to you. Just making a decision.
Usually these are my favorite meetings, the May one and the December one, because you come to us and your faces and talk to you.
And maybe somebody on the student advisory council could volunteer to kind of follow the board minutes or something. Report back
Well,
to
that's
school
what I put
that
down
way.
here, you know, if there was, you know, something that we could have these guys come up with a question and say, call 2 or 3 board members, or come up with something to make that connection, and then we could put that in the school bulletin. And then maybe we could, as a starter group, touch base with Mike and the press, and maybe we could have like a student comment type thing for the week, you know, and maybe different questions are put in, or he thinks of them and he comes out and interviews some kids, or, you know, so we'll look at, we'll brainstorm and come up with something, guys. I think that's good.
We acknowledge that you're very busy people too. So if you don't want to come every meeting, we understand that.
All right, so the next question is, bullying is always a concern. How is it in our schools, and what kind of support or network do we have in place for you? Is it working?
I don't think in our school, or at least my school, it's not as bad as it could be.
Like you hear about other schools and it always seems a lot worse.
Worse, yeah, and it's like, we don't really know what it is because it really doesn't happen.
Seems like people that get bullied come to our schools.
I think it's because our class sizes are so nice and small that everybody just is really close to one another, and so we all kind of know each other, so the bullying isn't necessarily an issue.
I feel like it's more like Facebook text than it is actually like taking place in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more
Nobody's
through
brave enough to bully it
electronics.
to people's face. It's how it is. So if stuff is going down, it's going down on Facebook. It's not the school's fault.
Yes.
What, the second part of that question, if it is something that becomes part of a student's life, where do you see some resources are in our building? Do you feel like we have some?
We have really good teachers.
Yeah.
Like the teachers are really supportive, and you can go to almost any teacher.
If you have that, if you have that one teacher that, you know, you feel comfortable with, most of the time the kids will go to that.
And a lot of teachers even say like, there's something going on, come talk to me, like they're like open about it.
And then Jackie and Heather in the office are really good at doing good work too, so. Like, it's just a really open environment for us here. I think that's why a lot of kids that are having issues with other schools come here. Because everybody is just so open and so nice, and we're willing to help other people, so.
And I think more or less it goes back to the first question, like, we all have really good friends. Like, even aside from the staff and the teachers, because when I have a problem, I'm probably not gonna, you know, run to the principal, no offense. You know, like, it's not my first instinct, but I have really good friends, and I think I could look at everybody in this room and like, name one good friend that they have that they can turn to, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but.
The school is, since it is so small, it's so like close knit, like with your grades, like you're friends with everyone, and you're nice to everyone, that sort of thing. So you don't have like those bigger situations here.
And then, going on to our last one, we have what events happened this year that you would like to share in our experiences. Prom was awesome.
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought after prom was maybe a little too long.
Yeah, after prom was a little too long
There's
without.
no magician.
Yeah, like no entertainment.
That's
That's
not
the
fun.
fun that comes in.
Yeah, like last year they had the magician or whatever, and that was like worth the wait and everything. But this year's after prom just seemed to drag on and on until the 4 o'clock, so I don't know.
I don't know, even just
Yeah.
like making it like 2.5 hours would be a lot better than like the whatever.
Those would be suggestions, like if the prom,
Yeah.
entertainment to the after prom.
There's a
Folks that
survey
then
coming
do
out.
that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't help if you get up so early either.
Yeah.
Starts at 6 a.m.
Anything else that this year's as far as events that you'd like to share? That was a question I threw on there because we have so many things going on in the
I don't
building.
even know if I remember that either.
Like you heard on fast or slow?
Oh,
Fast.
crazy fast.
Well, now it's slow.
Okay.
The last 20 days are rough.
Last couple
Just bring it on.
Then I guess,
Do you have any
Yeah.
questions?
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Thanks.
You pointed me out, so.
I don't know, I just, like, we had brought up scheduling at our meeting, and I understand, like, Ms. Flora had came to us, or like I brought it up to her, and she was very nice about it, and she, you know, said that, like, we can't fit it in our schedules to be arranged for some kids that want to go post-secondary, because it's pretty easy to go full-time post-secondary as long as you're on top of your stuff, but I know for me, like, for my senior year, I'd like to stay closer to home, so I think, like, going part-time would be a better option for me, but our 3 main college classes are really spaced out throughout the day, and so that makes it really hard to go. And I don't know, like, I didn't fully understand Ms. Flora's reason, but that was kind of my own fault, because I just was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. But, you know, but, like, this year, macroeconomics is in the morning, and that's kind of convenient because you can take that as a junior, so you can get that out of the way, so as a senior you can go. But as a schedule for next year, honors English, and is, like, at 11 o'clock, I do believe. And I think calculus is 6th or 7th hour, and those are both classes that a lot of kids would like to sign up to, but I just know that, like, for me personally, it'd be hard to, like, go to St. Cloud or Ridgewater and be back at 11 o'clock. It's really not worth it. But at the same time, like, it's way cheaper than going to college, you know, because it saves a lot of money. But this year, like, honors is 5th hour, and so a lot of kids can go and take 2 classes and come back and still make it in time for, like, the 12:30 bell. And so I just didn't really understand, like, why that couldn't be flip-flopped, because Ms. Flanders had said that she didn't want her classes to be 6th or 7th hour, but currently scheduled for next year, she has, like, a 10th grade English class, I believe, for next year, so I just didn't know how those was gonna be flip-flopped, but I don't know.
You understand that we really can't answer that?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine, but, yeah.
And the one thing that's tough with scheduling, and it comes down to the dollars and cents, obviously, we have lots of singletons this year, so, we have gotten to that point where all our upper level classes, so trying to spread out your advanced biology, your calculus, your honors, pre-calc falls into that for juniors and seniors as well, macro and advanced psych, so it's not just the specifics, because you have 6 hours a day and then you have your choir and your band also, that tends to be a lot of those. We share some teachers, so that is significant with placing that spot, because between the 2 buildings they have to fall in a certain section. Calculus is at the end of the day, one of those reasons is because of the sports programs. Our college calculus class, the college part of it, is usually completed by probably the 2nd week in April, and that's the college piece, and then we have the high school piece continue on. And because of rainouts with sports, and you heard a couple of years ago how kids were, missing so much of 7th hour because of sports rainouts and having to leave the building, it made sense to put the college calculus at the end of the day, because those sports seasons, they're just winding up at that point, and most of that is at the end. So there's just lots of different pieces, and we try to make it work as best we can, but there's certain scheduling pieces that fall into play too. But I understand the piece of wanting to do everything is when we end up having only one calculus course, one advanced biology course, that we have to split it up, and lots of kids have, trying to juggle everybody. So we do the best that we can, and hopefully be able to provide options like the online, those types of things to help students with
The post-secondary part that you want to go, and you said it was because you want to save money. Can't you take college credit classes in math through that here in class?
Yeah, I've signed up for everything that I possibly could, yeah.
So, I'm missing the link. I mean, if you can take them here.
Oh, no, I would just like to take additional classes that I wouldn't be able to take here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because, so, yeah, I just thought, because it worked out pretty nicely this year. Like, there's a handful of kids that, are able to come, and they've already taken macro their junior year, so they'd be able to come back for, I think the 3 classes are honors English, advanced psychology, and calculus are their last 3 hours. So that just worked out really nice. It'd just be nice to be able to do that next year, because it's nice to just get it all out of the way as fast as you can. But I understand completely.
a good question.
Okay, is there anything else? Lori, or?
Cookies and juice are for you, and if you guys would like to stay, and I encourage you if you want. If you have classes that need your attention, you may go back. But if you'll get your your cookies and your juice, and then maybe fill these seats back here, so that when the middle school group comes in later, there'll be a place for them. And I'll take your sheets, so if you could pass them down back here. Thank you. Oh, and your name tags. Nice job, everybody. You can go around. Take your keys out now. Do you guys want to move down into the front? Sure. The little poster.
Okay, we're going to order what's on the agenda, and we're going to see the report from FFA alumni.
Well, my name is Ken Litch. I'm the president of the FFA alumni as of January. I'd like to thank the board members of the school board for their support and their interest in what the alumni have done and is doing. Without your support, it wouldn't be possible to help kids like we are. And just a quick rundown of what's going on. You probably have seen that the corn and bean plot has been planted, which is going well. We're going to have another plot day this fall. Date has not been determined yet, but you're all welcome when that date comes to go on and see what we're doing. The next thing is we're also planning on having another pedal tractor pull for Town and Country Days. Last year it got rained out, so we rescheduled it later on, and I couldn't make it that day, but it was a huge success. A lot of kids were interested in it, and it went out really well. The next thing, we, as the alumni, have purchased a 6x12 enclosed trailer for the FFA to haul and store their gates for their baby animal day. We are planning on having it here on display for you, so you can look at it, but the inside is not done with for hanging the gates, and we haven't made a decision on how we want to do the outside yet. We're still trying to come up with something that looks really nice. So when that point comes, we'll have it at a different board meeting so that you guys can see and take it over. We will be donating to the school. Any other future plans? We're still discussing that at this time. And my personal feeling is that the alumni has helped get the program become what it is today, and we'll continue to support it in any way we can. And the next thing is, any questions from any of you?
How many members of the alumni group are there?
I have a total count, I would say there's
Approximately.
25,
Okay.
probably.
Has that number grown since you guys began this 4 years ago?
7 years.
7 years?
It's grown the first year, and now it's kind of more or less stabilized. We're always looking for new members, but it's a commitment, and I'm very going to do that.
How many students?
40.
You do a lot of competitions and things.
Yeah. And we try to support them in there, like the ones that went to the Kansas City National Convention, I think it was Kansas City, right? These are the national convention, the FFA alumni gave them a donation to help pay for the trip. Things like that is what we do. And the last thing I would like to address, I'd like to thank Todd for his 7 years of support that we've had. Too bad you're leaving, but hopefully we'll get the same support from a new superintendent. And when that time comes, I would like to be informed, I'd like to sit down and talk to him when he starts his term. So see what we can share for ideas. I know, but the team members.
I'm Ashley Barker, I'm from Macquarie, and I am the current treasurer. Do you want to introduce yourselves, or?
Yes. Sure.
I'm Brittany Oakes and I'm vice president.
I'm Amy Gratson, I'm from Macquarie, and I'm the president and the Region 3 reporter.
I'm Sabrina Lai, and I'm the chapter secretary.
So, throughout the year, we've had different community service opportunities that we've done. We've done Adopt a Highway, and we do it twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. We actually just did it last Sunday. We had 8 members show up and have the ditch cleaned in 45 minutes, so that was kind of cool. We also conduct a corn drive. Half of the money we go out to farms and get corn and cash donations, and half the money that we got gets donated to Camp Courage. And this year we donated $1,176.56 to Camp Courage. So that's really exciting to know that our money is going to a really good cause. We will be putting bird seed in the bird feeders at the Cronus Manor this year. This is something new. We were asked to do it by the feed store. They'll donate the feed, and we just have to go and find time to fill them. And then we're working on a service learning project this year to help clean up the courtyard. We have not decided what we're going to be doing yet. We're actually having a committee meeting after this, and to decide what we're going to do, what we're planning on.
Another thing we did was agricultural education literacy. In March, we do a National Teach Ag Day with first graders and multi-age classes. In Paynesville, we did what was called the Cheeseburger Storybook. We went through the different parts of a cheeseburger and said where they came from, and we helped them make paper cheeseburgers. And then they got to take those home. And then in Macquarie, they did what was called All in the Family Lessons, where they used Play-Doh to make animals, and, it was like livestock, talking about different animals and whatnot. Another thing we do each year is an egg day at each of the schools, where we have a petting zoo, and we also have safety equipment from BNC, John Deere, somewhere in town usually. And then we have one of the dairy princesses come in and talk about dairy products and whatnot. Throughout the year, we have 4 petting zoos. We have one for the EC we have one at Rockfest in Rockville during the summer, and then we have 2 with each of the egg days. Another thing was the educational plot, the test plot out there, plot day. Throughout the summer, we have a certain committee that goes out there and works with the alumni to take care of the field and the irrigation and whatnot. And then we all get ready for plot day when the public comes out and have a meal and whatnot.
And honors for our chapter. This year at the Richmond Parade, we got the grand prize floats. We got a cash prize. The horse team got 2nd place at Regions, and they got a plaque and they qualified for state. The small animal team got 1st at Regions, won a plaque and qualified for state. The parliamentary procedure team got 1st at Regions, won a plaque and qualified for state. And so did the dairy judging team. They got 1st at Regions and qualified for state. And the livestock judging team got 3rd place and qualified for state, and talent got 2nd place at Regions, and they qualified for state as well. And the fish and wildlife team and egg mechanics team also did really well. And we had numerous individuals placing in the top 10 at Regions. And at the state, dairy judging got 5th place, and they won a plaque. And we had 3 members earn their state degree at the state convention, the 3 seniors. Mrs. Uch won the Region 3 Outstanding Ag Ed Teacher of the Year Award. The dairy team also won honorable mention in the Hordes Dairyman contest, and it was a cross-nation contest. They judged pictures of cattle and made their placing and submitted them, and they just found out a few days ago that they got honorable mention. And the National Teach Ag Day winners in Minnesota, what she talked about earlier with the elementary kids, we won that, and U of M Ag Ed Club sponsored a pizza party that we had last night, and they came and had pizza with us.
Some highlights of the year, we have officer tree
for all the officers that got selected, will be coming up in August. National convention, not everyone goes every year, but there's a few members that went this year. All had a very fun time. Some new events we tried out this year was an ice cream social, and that turned out really good. Oktoberfest. In Oktoberfest, we had a root beer tag, popcorn, apple bobbing, and carving pumpkin, and everyone had a blast with that. And our barn dance we had at Neil Anderson's place, and that was a lot of fun. Another thing we do is corn drive, as she talked about before. State convention, we attend every year. And then our banquet is coming up in a week. And then the gate trailer, as my dad talked about. And then Mrs. Litch had submitted an iPad grant for getting a new iPad for our chapter, and she received that, so we have an iPad for our chapter now, and that helps us with our CBE teams. And like, we brought that to state convention, and in our spare time, that's what we did. We studied our teams that we were preparing for the next day. And then a new thing we got this year was our CBE jackets. Everybody got a different jacket. It had our name on the front of it, and then it had our team on the back of it. And you got to be on the team for 1 year to get the jacket. So then if people next year that were on the team for this year and do it next year, they'll be able to get the jacket this year or next year. And then our fruit sales this year, we had over 1,000 boxes sold throughout the communities that we had gone to. So it was a very successful year.
Busy year. All in 1 year.
I have a question, where are the male counterparts?
Well, there's only one on our officer team, and wasn't able to come today for sledding. There are males in that.
One final comment, I graduated in '73 and I was in FFA for 4 years. And it sounds like the FFA is headed into the direction where it was when I left. You know, there were some years where they didn't do a lot of contests, I guess, but, you know, I went to the state convention on a contest every year, and it's being brought back to where these kids have a choice of what to go with that, have the same experience. I'm glad to see that, I'm glad the alumni could be a part of it.
I personally, if I wasn't an FFA, I wouldn't be going as much as I am, and I wouldn't know so many different people. And we go to state convention regions, and you meet so many new people. It's just a great experience. You can't find anywhere else.
I can vouch for that. She was a very quiet girl, so she got involved in that. I mean, and I hope it does the same for every kid that's in the experience.
I talked to Natalie and if I made one night, happened. So that's supported. I appreciate you guys coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. If you ever got any questions, you know, just be able to call one of the alumni or talk to Todd, you know, he'll get back to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cookie and Brianna.
Okay, back to the school group.
Okay, so we have a better, we'll have Grant, Hillary, if you guys come down to the front row. From Noah, why don't you come down to the front row? And let you girls come on down to the front row, so that we're able to. Yeah, all the way in. And this group had, you take one for every two. This group had met already and kind of had a similar situation as the high school did. So I thought, instead of gathering them again and taking them out of class, that we would use kind of that same format, give them some questions. And so if you have other questions for the middle schoolers, So we'll kind of go off the questions that we had for the high school as well. So what we'll do, folks, is I'll read you a question, and we're going to open it up as to comment on. Okay, these are questions that came from our board members, except for the very last one. That's one I put in there. And have conversation or ask questions or give your input, okay? And then we'll leave some time for open discussion at the end. All right, so your first question, when thinking of fellow students in other districts, what makes you most proud of being a student in Paynesville, being a Paynesville Bulldog?
Yes, the spirit.
The spirit? Okay. Anybody else? What makes you proud to go to school here?
Yeah, we get comments from other schools that we are really nice kids and that we have a good attitude.
Okay, good. You get comments from other schools, from like student teachers or parents or both? All right. Anybody else? Why are you glad you're a Bulldog from Paynesville? Is that a tough one?
If you should say, are you glad?
Are you glad you're a Bulldog from Paynesville? Okay, okay. We are glad, we just can't put our fingers on it. Okay. All right, do you like the color green?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. A question came up about our school district having to face passing a levy next year. How many of you know what a school levy is? Okay, and that conversation came up with the high schoolers. The high schools didn't know either. So my question is, would you be interested in inviting some of the school board members to our school to spend some time with you guys as a class to kind of explain the school levy, what your parents are going to be voting on next year, because it will be on the ballot, and you know, as especially the 8th graders, Ms. Cannell spends a lot of time in civics talking about the voting procedure and all that. Would you be interested in having the school board members come down and talking with you? Yes, thumbs up? Let's see thumbs. Thumbs up, maybe, down, up. Okay, you are invited. All right. Okay. Here's one. What do you need from the school board or your teachers or administration so that you feel supported as students, and do you feel currently supported as students? These are thinkers, huh? What are some things you feel you either appreciate coming from through either your teachers or the school board, or that you would like maybe added to help you become better learners, or more activities that you're currently involved in? I know some of you mentioned to me some things you would like looked at as far as equipment or items that you would like for your individual activities.
There are no wrong answers.
There are no wrong answers. These guys love you. They're really cool. Tatum, you look like you have something going on. No, okay. Remington? I heard jerseys in our meeting.
Our jerseys are older than Whitney Whaler.
So it's almost 18.
For softball, get new ones. And then our equipment bags no longer open up. They open like this box.
Yes.
New golf shirts.
New golf shirts, so it's kind of in the uniform. Okay. Others? Okay. All right, this one I know we've talked about in our meeting, so hopefully you can share some things here. Bullying is always a concern in a school district. How are things in our school going? And do you feel like there is some like a support system here, people you can go to if so, you know, food, like groups, et cetera? Can you kind of talk to the school board about, how do you feel the climate is here in Paynesville?
I think it will decrease a lot since the beginning of school.
Okay. Who do you feel helps you, or that you can go to? Teachers? Others? Parents? Okay, you need our parents? Friends?
I said principal.
Oh, principal, oh, thank you. Brownie points, he's my son.
Yes, his name's right in front of him.
Don't have to do the dishes. Still, no, I still have to do chores.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Okay.
It's kind of quiet up there in that corner. Would you agree or disagree, or just don't have any opinion as to whether you think that bullying is an issue in our school or not?
I don't think it's much of an issue. Seems like it's always worse at the beginning of the school year, but I think as it goes on, people get to know who can help them and where they go for help.
Thank you.
Now, this is one, hopefully everybody could think and share something. What, if you could share an event that you've been involved in this year, either a large event or maybe a small event, or just something that happened here at school that made you smile, and would you be willing to share that with the board?
Any event?
Any event, so they can kind of get to know what's your world like here at school.
Funny. That's my favorite thing.
Okay.
Hanging out in the classroom from the beginning of the day. When we have our pep rallies at the beginning of the year, I think that really helps with people getting to go to football games and cheer the team on.
Okay. Good.
And I'm gonna pick on this end, because they're all quiet.
And I know those guys can clap. All right, we'll start at the end. Noah?
Yes.
So is it one good thing to have with you all school year? that
You
enjoy?
comment, you get a cookie. How's that?
But it was like that Turkey Olympics Day or whatever, where nobody had any homework or anything to worry about for the rest of the day, and it's, you had that whole and everything is, other friends and community and everybody else.
Okay, Grant?
So when they play dances, they let people look forward to something at the end of the day.
Jared?
What?
Oh, Gavin. Gavin.
I like the what's it called? The Bulldog Week where you have to dress up.
Dress up.
Homecoming. Where I like the one where you have the people dress up as like a pear or something, like peanut butter and jelly.
Okay.
I like hanging out with my friends and playing sports. It's a good time. And it's a good way of learning how to work as a team and other areas of life and other things.
I thought the winter activity there was really fun, where we could just, if we wanted to go snowboarding, bowling, ice skating.
Bailey, since you already, do you have another one? Oh, that's okay, we'll go on. Okay.
I like midwinter Thursdays since you would choose any challenges, so just have to do what was chosen for you.
I like our sixth grade winter camp. That was really fun because we just had to no school and just have fun.
Can you think of one activity you really liked during winter camp?
No, I don't know everything really.
Everything? All right, Jack?
Near Christmas when we got to have that winter break.
Oh, you liked Christmas break? Winter break? So we can't take that out of the calendar. All right. Carter.
I like the 6th grade parties where, like in our last one, we had yellow surfing and you could, they went in different groups and you could watch your friends kind of get embarrassed basically.
We did have one complaint this year that the Jell-O was really thick this year. It made it a lot thicker. When they went to slurp, it was more messy. All right, okay. What did you pick on winter activity day? Went swimming? Okay, good. Jordan?
I like the dances and the winter activity day because the dances have all the lights and the music.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the winter activity day you have a variety of issues.
I really like homecoming week, just because like every year I just really look forward to like dressing up for the days and then the football game and the dances. It's just a lot of fun.
I liked playing volleyball. We had good 7th grade season. That was really fun.
Sports were really fun. We have a good athletic spirit.
I think those are the main dances because like you're gonna have fun with your friends after school.
I thought the dances too because I thought like a lot of kids got together and had fun.
Okay, so I think the activities, do you feel like everybody's welcome to come to our activities as a group? Okay. Can I ask a question on MCAs this year? We're almost to the end of our MCAs. How did you feel about being prepared by your teachers, and how did you feel about the MCAs, the tests themselves? Any thoughts? What?
I like them online.
You like them online on the computer?
I like how we would get more chances to do them if you pass them.
Okay. Tatum?
I thought it was nicer to do it online because then you didn't have to sit in your classroom the whole day. You only had to sit there for an hour, and then you took it over a course of like 2 or 3 days. And then if you got not very good score, you could have a chance to improve your score. And then in the third time, instead of being in class.
I thought
Kevin?
the math ones were harder than the reading ones. The reading ones were like flew by a lot faster and easier.
Okay.
I thought it was cool how like you got to know your score faster.
Board, do you have any questions for our group?
I heard a couple of you say you got to improve your grades, or maybe you didn't do so well right away, or, I mean, the same day. See, I wasn't aware of that.
They could take the math test only. They could take it 3 times.
In the same day.
Not the same day. They
That's
took
what I was getting
it.
at. It's like, I thought they could go back in.
Yeah, well, it was over 2 days, so they would take it during their math test. So say there's 45 questions, they got to question 30. Then they could leave, go to their other classes, come back the next day, start on question 31 and continue. They couldn't go back, but they didn't have to take 2.5 hours of a
All at
test
once.
and not be able to get up. So the testing atmosphere was much better because they could focus and concentrate, and they kind of breathe and come back to it. So,
Did you feel prepared to take the test?
Yeah, the online assignments I like.
That's what I did really well. We had like 4 or 5 different practice tests.
Has anybody got any concerns on Monday night homework?
Too early for homework.
Yeah.
I just had to ask.
students, do you have any final comments for our board members? I do appreciate, oh, Jack.
I feel like for baseball, for Little League, we're kind of getting to the point where the helmets they're breaking really easily and they're losing the foam inside. I think
with shades and new helmets.
Yes?
I was wondering if we could get any sport, like horseshoes or.
Sport, add a sport. Horseshoes?
Is horseshoes a sport tonight?
Yes.
It is?
Lacrosse? Okay, I do really appreciate our middle school students. They do give me a good look at how our population and concerns and things. So I would like to give them a round of applause, as well as my high school students for helping me out in creating this, the classroom duties, our climate and everything. So thank you. It's a hard act to follow. But I want to thank you, board, for inviting me to come and update you on the U-Zone. I think it's been back, I think 2009 that I first came to the board and did a presentation. But we want to thank you very much for inviting me. And I want to thank the administration and Mr. Burlingame, because I think 5 years ago I came to Mr. Burlingame with this idea of the U-Zone, and he gave me some ideas and gave me support and helped us get this, the U-Zone rolling. So thank you for that. The U-Zone is all about youth, and it's providing a safe and a social gathering place for youth to come after school. If you don't know where the U-Zone is located, it's located right behind, to be east of the high school tennis courts in that yellow building. And it used to be identified by the old red barn, which happily is gone today. So, but it also is a place where we have opportunities for youth to practice social and life skills in a home-like setting. And a place that they can get one-to-one help with homework and school projects. And a place where they can also develop leadership skills, maybe a little bit differently than they can in school. They serve on advisory boards for the U-Zone, and we have projects, special projects that they take leadership in. The U-Zone, I think, has grown to be a very integral asset or integral part of a supportive community network. And the U-Zone is supported by and is really an outreach ministry of Grace United Methodist Church. But right at the onset, I want to reiterate that we do not evangelize, proselytize our youth at all. The U-Zone is guided by Christian principles, but we do not try to evangelize youth. And indeed, we have our staff comes from all faiths in our community, and we welcome information. We give information for all churches, make that available to youth. And in fact, we even changed our hours so we can accommodate the churches in our community on their Wednesday night activities. So youth can come and stay there and then go to their respective churches. So we've always tried to be very clear about that. We're completing our 5th school year, full school year of activity, and we're entering our 6th summer of summer tutoring. During the school year, we are open to middle and high school age youth, and in the summer, we tutor elementary through high school youth. And our tutors are all volunteers. It's free to all youth. In fact, everything at the U-Zone is free. But the tutoring is free, and we have tutors that many retired school teachers and community people that help us out during the summer. And we tutor on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we're very thankful for the school to get that information out to our parents that we are available. And we've had many contacts already, so our summer schedule is really loading up. We have had over 15,000 youth visits since we opened 5 years ago. We serve currently about 125 families of our community. We average about 20 kids a day, and we've had as many as 54 youth a day that have come, but average throughout the year is 20.
And a lot of the youth change from day to day according to if they're in sports or other activities. So it's always different young people. We have 5 paid staff. I'm the director of the youth zone, and Lori Johnson is the site manager, is there day to day. And then we have 3 paid staff that are assistants. So we always have plenty of adult supervision at each day. We feel that our location is ideal, being so close to school. It's so easy for the young people to walk across the parking lot and come to the youth zone. We have a nice big field for them to play soccer and ball, and also in the past few years we've added a volleyball court and sand volleyball court and a cement basketball court, in addition to a lot of other athletic equipment and fun things for the young people to do outside, but inside also. And I'm happy to say that we just completed a purchase of the property. We had been renting the property along with the Nature Conservancy since we started. And when the Nature Conservancy moved, it gave us the opportunity to purchase the property. So our congregation did that. And one of our first things that we did was demolish the old red barn, which left with some sadness, but it had to go. It was in very bad repair, so that gave us a little more room, and we're doing a lot of other improvements on the property. So we're very happy about that, and if you've driven by, you've probably seen a new sign, and we're excited about what we're doing there. We're celebrating with the whole community with an open house on May 20th. It's a Sunday. It's 11 until 2 o'clock. We're hoping that that'll catch people from church or wherever their activities lead them on Sunday, but I know there's a lot of things going on that day, but we are serving lunch, so you can stop by and have lunch and then be on your way. But we just wanted to celebrate with the entire community. Not only our purchase of the property, but I think it makes a statement to our community that we're there to stay and we're committed to our youth. But also, it's our celebrating 5 years, so we hope that you will plan to be part of that. Funding for the youth zone has come from Grace Church, and through the last few years, we've had a lot more community involvement. Community charity fund we qualified for, and also different community organizations and individuals. And this fall, we are going to be launching a community endowment fund for the youth zone, just to help ensure that we have some more financial stability for the youth zone in the future years. We have developed a strategic plan for the youth zone, and we appreciate so much, again, the cooperation of the school in helping us get information to the youth and parents, and we also have a school contact person in the elementary school is Anne Marie Stevens, and in the high school and middle school it's Jean Durant. I, again, just want to thank the board and thank the administration, Ms. Flora, and everyone for all that you do to help the kids, and I hope you see the youth zone as being helpful to the school and to our young people. So, I have a few brochures I'll leave here if you're interested. It tells a little bit more about our mission statement and the youth zone, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to have a place when kids, I run a daycare that say, I don't get this, and I have to come here after school, and if they have somewhere that they can go. That's great.
I've probably heard this, how do you come up with the name? What's the youth zone?
The youth zone, the name came from the kids. In fact, everything in the youth zone started with a group of young people, mission statement and everything. And they were toying with names, and they said, well, we want to be in the zone is the place you want to be, and then as well, it's us, you. So we just ended up with the zone, and it kind of stuck.
Well, thank you. Each school district has to adopt a local literacy plan. It's part of the push to try to get all students K through 3 reading at grade level by 3rd grade, at or above grade level. It's a process that we need to follow through the Department of Ed, where they wanted us to come up with a local literacy plan. Then this would be locally adopted, put on the school website, and then also by June 2nd, I need to submit some data that we're currently working on right now with our literacy committee, and that will be submitted and put on the Department of Ed website. And then there's also some literacy aid that they are giving out, and it's kind of a complex formula, but basically it's $530 per pupil for students who are testing at a certain level, grades K through 3, and we were very fortunate that we have an estimate on the amount of money that we'll be getting, and we're able to use some of that money for our K-5 curriculum that we're going to be purchasing this spring. So it really worked out well. It's money that's not always going to be there, and so we'll be able to take advantage of that this year and really get that up to the standard. So we're really happy about that. The local literacy plan, we had a literacy committee with members from representing grades K through 3, and also we had 2 title teachers. And what we did is we basically needed to answer 4 questions, and so we met a couple times, and we talked about what we're doing to assess our students, to see where they are, and then we discussed what our interventions are. And I was able to see some other plans from other school districts that they were working on, and I was really impressed with what Paynesville has been doing as far as interventions and working with those students in an individualized way after we are assessing them. And so question number 1, it's how do we assess our students' level of reading proficiency? And a number of assessment tools. Many of them are web-based. Ames Web, STAR testing, Accelerated Reader, MCA testing. Those are all web-based, and they're tested numerous times throughout the year, which is stated there. I won't read through everything. And then also with our guided reading and running records and things like that. So that answers that question and gives the amount of time that it is done per year. Number 2 was how does Paynesville Area Elementary School notify and involve parents? And so we just brainstormed some things that we do. If you don't have children at the elementary level anymore, you probably, some of these things are new. Some of these things are things that we've done for years. Parent-teacher conferences. The Ames Web, the computerized reports are sent home 3 times a year. With JMC, it's our attendance tracking, and some teachers have information on their grades and things like that. Title I does parent and family reading nights and newsletters. The MCA results are discussed with the math being able to be online. We were able to have our first report ready for parent-teacher conferences in March, which was really good because then parents could see where their child was at, and then we were able to give them information on how to help them out at home, and then we've continued to work with that. The reading hopefully will be there next year. We just finished reading last week. We won't get those results until next school year, which hopefully will be something that they're going to be working on. Numerous classrooms at the elementary level have websites. Colin Wolf has been instrumental in getting teachers up to speed with that, working with them during in-service times, and that continues to evolve. And we just continue to try to communicate with parents as much as we can through the various avenues. Interventions that Paynesville Area Elementary School uses for students who are not reading at or above grade level. Numerous areas, Title I services, those are provided this year by 2 Title teachers, and we have numerous Title paras who do a fabulous job of one-on-one instruction, small group instruction, pull-out instruction, and coming into the classroom and working with students also. Of course, we have IEPs for students that qualify for special ed services. And then we have some reading programs. We're still working on the reading corps person. Hopefully we will be interviewing shortly and have that taken care of for next year. That was the grant that we had gotten. We do a couple different PATS program, which is targeted services. We currently have a program after school that ended a couple weeks ago, and then we have a new program that we started in January that meets 2 mornings a week, and their specific drive is to work on MCA skills. That has been very successful, and that will go for another week. And then some programs that we have with the Read Naturally, First-Hand Phonics, and things like that. The 4th question that we looked at was how Paynesville Area Elementary will identify and meet staff development needs, and at the elementary level we continue with our professional learning communities, and we're always looking at best practice strategies there. Our paraprofessional staff, they are trained in providing some of the progress monitoring with Ames Web. Mr. Gardner is Ames Web guru, kind of, and has done a fantastic job of training the paras and staying on top of that, so we appreciate that. And we meet monthly to discuss progress, and staff also has some common in-service time during the day that they can meet and discuss. So really what we've done is we've just a lot of brainstorming, trying to look at all of the things that we do. It's a work in progress, and once it's posted, we'll continue to update that as needed. So it just would need to be locally adopted by the board, and then we would be able to get that posted. Do you have any questions for me about?
Do kids still play games sometime with STAR testing as far as to lower their, is it still called the ZPD, or am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We hope not.
Yeah. I promised them one time that I wasn't going to raise their level and just take it, and they went up like 2 grade levels, and I said, I know that's not correct.
Yeah. Many different different ways to assess reading level now, and it's really it's hard to do that for everything. So I think we get a fairly accurate reading.
For the rest of the board, if they take their STAR test and it was lower, then they don't have to read as many books.
Did you get many applicants for the Minnesota Reading Corps position?
I don't get to see the applicants. They have screened. They screen them kind of in a large group, and then whoever applies, I believe they would put the school or schools that they would be interested in. And so I got an email from that person the other day, and they were waiting on some references on one candidate. But so at this point, we would have 2 candidates to interview as of last week. So there could be more, but so yeah.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So we need to approve this, right?
Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So,
Motion by Dave, second by Bob. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 6, review and consider appropriate packages with Elders and Associates to assist the district with the referendum this fall.
Exhibit B added, this is the community at Elders, which is sending out the information on the packages that are available to school districts. 3 basic package 1 is the basic one. Package 2, you get the additional graphs and tables, and then package 3 is the property tax impact website. And then I just kind of ran said, depending on the circumstances of the district, she said for sure do 1 and 2. But whether or not the board wanted to go with number 3, I guess I would recommend going with all 3, just due to the fact that this is kind of a do or die.
Well, not only that, but, you know, we have to look at the cost, but however, you know, package through the Property Tax Impact website, we've had direct questions from citizens that want that, so in order to get that, hopefully,
And they just have to, towards the end,
that way they can get specific information for their specific circumstances.
yep, they just punch it in and the property line calculates it for it. And they put a website together for us, and then they're available also for phone calls. So I think it's, for $3,000, I think it's a pretty good deal to have them assist us in our property call. I didn't get any questions or such chance to look at that. They do a nice job presenting information, and I did ask her, we should have numbers middle of next week, so then we can start putting together information.
Could this link be attached to our homepage?
Yep.
Mark, I think it may be similar to something that Eden Valley did when they went out for their building thing. I think I might have sent an email to everybody a while ago about that, that I thought was a nice piece to add to your website that drills down and gives more information specific to those items.
I will entertain a motion, sounds like.
Sounds like to me that everybody, it's agreement that we go with all 3 sides of the motion.
Okay, so a motion to Deb for all 3 packages.
Second.
And second by Lou. Any further discussion?
I'll contact her tomorrow. I'll ask her to picture the next board meeting regardless.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 7, review and consider approval of a 2-year agreement with the food service bargaining unit.
Okay, food service, we ended up doing one with a soft, basically using their steps, and then $250 stipend for those people on top that are doing steps. Year 2 was a soft, or steps again, and a $245 stipend for the top step. We prorated the food service people if they were not, they weren't full time, it was 25? $35, $35 a week. And we prorated those, so you can see down at the bottom of the cost sheet, if they're less than that, they were prorated. So the total package ended up, first year, 1.84%, second year, 0.86%, for a total of 2.7%. And as far as language changes, I think we only had, some of them made, but
Just clearing up some of the language.
yeah, we just cleaned up some language, but
Nothing.
basically boiled down to salary. And this is what we came up with, Mark and Deb and Bob Ross, and we would like to add anything to that.
So moved. Okay, motion by Bob.
Second.
And second by Mark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 8, review and consider approval of a 2-year agreement with the custodial bargaining unit.
Okay, year 1, we had a soft for steps, $225 stipend on the top step. Year 2 was soft, and $275 stipend on the top step. All our custodians are full-time, so there was no proration with that. As far as language, cleaned up some language, we did add, with the boiler license, they did specialists, which we've never paid them extra for, but we did add that in there, and we added a nickel to the specialist, and it's second class, first class, and chiefs, so we added a nickel to that. So, total package, year 1 was 2.21, year 2, 1.04, for a total of 3.4 for the 2-year package.
those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 9, review and consider approval of the 2013 through 2015 technology plan.
Exhibit E in your packet, the district-wide technology committee has been meeting monthly over the course of the past year. The front page is just information, contact information. The first part is technology needs assessment. Basically, looks very similar to the literacy grant. We had answers to questions here. Number 2 is the goals and strategies. All the information I've got in here is goals. Professional development plan number 3, evaluation. Part number 4, we have to have our link to our current technology plan. Below that, you have the Children's Unit Protection Act, and yes, we do have several e-policies in place, and we also have an internet filter. So, we met last Thursday to finalize this plan as the district-wide technology committee. So between Jim and I and the committee, we put this together and built a plan. This will take care of this for the next 3 years.
But I was just under the Children's Internet Protection Act piece. We changed that to Responsible Use Act, right? On the policy instead of acceptable use. Remember so I would just make a suggestion. We changed acceptable to responsible use so that it coincides with the actual policy. But that would be the only change that I would recommend.
Do that.
Unless it has to be called out.
What's that? No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay. This,
Yeah.
sometimes the state says thou must say.
Oh, yeah. So I make a motion to approve the 3-year technology plan.
Okay, motion by Dave to approve. Second by Deb. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Personnel, number 1, review and consider approval of termination of Tammy Nye, paraprofessional, effective immediately. So moved. Motion by Mark.
Second.
Second by Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, review and consider approval of resignation request from Amanda Lumen, paraprofessional nursing assistant, effective immediately. So moved. Motion by Bob.
Second.
Second from Gretchen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're going to move number 3 and number 5. We're going to move number 3 to the end of the meeting. And so we'll move on to number 4 under personnel, which is to review and consider approval to end Jamie Solom's temporary paraprofessional assignment effective April 30th, 2012, and hire as a paraprofessional nurse's office effective May 1, 2012.
Katie was hired for a temporary replacement for May when she went on her medical leave. So,
Motion by Deb. Second. Second from Mark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, on to informational reports. Lori.
Okay, you heard from our students, and I also asked Jesse Rasmussen, our biology and advanced biology teacher, to come and share. We've been working a lot, as you know, with the different standards. He was one of our teachers that went to science standards meetings, and within that came across a new teaching tool that we're hoping to start implementing next year and incorporate into his class dynamic. And with that, I'm going to let Jesse take the floor and explain it, the new technique to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for letting me be here today. This is something that I have been researching over the past year as soon as I heard about it, and it's something that I'm passionate about, and I'm thinking it's something that has a lot of really big implications for science and math classrooms. And I wasn't here to give these out earlier, but I have little handouts on them. Is it okay if I pass that out? Is that okay?
For you and get fun.
Thank you very much. The idea is it okay if I sit? Yeah, the idea is what's called flipped instruction. And it's based around this idea, the definition that I found that I really like, and I'll wait just 1 second here. That's okay. Up at the top, I wrote the definition that I like the most, and it says, leveraging technology to appropriately pair the learning activity with the learning environment. So it's using technology to best use the classroom for what it's used for, and then using technology to best use homework for what it's used for. And here's sort of, I put up Bloom's taxonomy underneath it, and it's the idea that these lower areas of Bloom's are kind of the lower levels of thought, and then you build off of that to get to the higher levels of thought. And in a traditional classroom, what happens is if you imagine your traditional math classroom, the students come into math and they hear the teacher talk about the math assignment for the first half of the class, and that's sort of that knowledge and comprehension level. And then they take that math problem home, and at home, they work on the word problems or the analysis and synthesis. And in a flipped classroom, it does the opposite. In the classroom is where they work on the analysis, the synthesis, and the evaluation. And in the homework piece, they sort of do that lower area of Bloom's where they can get the basic knowledge. How they go about doing this, and I wrote down here a couple bullets on how it's done. How it's done is it's using technology, and it's using teacher-created videos. So the teacher would create a video lesson for the students. And that's what they would watch at home in the lecture space about 10 minutes, 2 nights a week. So they would have that component, the direct instruction would be given out via a video that they would watch at home. And then when they come to the class, they would work on building on that knowledge or working on that and doing the higher order Bloom stuff in the classroom where they have the teacher available to help them and stuff like that. I just put down here at the bottom my idea of a learning model with this, and it's actually not my idea, it's by a teacher out in California, and he uses what's called an explore, flip, apply model, where if you can imagine something like osmosis. The students the first day would come into class and they would do a lab, where they would experience osmosis, but the teacher wouldn't explain it. So they would come in and they'd get to explore the concept. They'd see how baggies put in salt solution would increase and decrease, and they get to kind of have that discovery, that fun aspect of learning. And then the flip would happen is where they would go home that night or before class the next day, they would watch a short 2-minute video or up to about 8 or 9 minute video on tonicity and osmosis. And then the next day they would come into the class and they would apply that information and really build off it. And then they could build models and answer big questions like, well, why should we put freshwater fish in a freshwater tank? What's going to happen if we put them in a saltwater tank? How does that relate to osmosis? So we take that knowledge that they learned in the classroom or at home, and we use the classroom space for what it's for what I believe it's best used for, and that's this higher order collaborative learning. So that's my idea. Are there any questions? I know I'm sure there's probably a lot. And if you want to talk to me about it later, feel free.
I have to tell you that I heard a presentation on this thing at one of the C meetings. And there's also been presentations at the MSBA on this type of learning. And I was, when you first started talking, I thought, wow, that's, because I heard about it quite a while, a couple, 2-3 years ago. And so I was very impressed. I always thought, that always hit a chord with me, that would make more sense. So I'm just surprised that it took so long for us to.
I really like the idea, and what really excites me about it is the fact that there would be videos of what the students are learning that they can watch at home. And if they don't get a concept, they can rewind me and watch it again.
And the thing is, if they're after they get the hands-on stuff and then the explanation,
sorry,
it always seems to sink in and stick more than flip the other way around. If you hear a lecture and then try to do it, you're trying to remember what you heard.
Exactly, exactly. And if you think about this from a parent's aspect, one thing I've heard is parents really like this, especially in math class. So if students learn how to do matrices in calculus, they're doing matrice problems, and they come home and they have homework on that matrice problem, and they get home, parents parents aren't gonna know. If I was a parent, I'd be so lost, I'd have no idea how to do the matrice problem. But as a parent, I can go watch the video, and now I know how to help my student, or help my child, do the matrice problem. So it's just giving them more tools to use learning, to best use the learning at home for homework space, and the best use the classroom, so.
Exactly, you can rewind it.
You can rewind them.
My only comment about it, I mean, I'm excited because you're excited. And the reason why is because that's what portrays to the children. You don't have, I mean, just me watching you, you're excited, so I think that's gonna go a lot farther than just standing there and reading monotone dialogue to your kids. So, great for you. My only concern is for those parents that don't have high-speed internet or stuff like that, how do they get that?
Yeah, that's great. If I can address that for sure. What I would do, and I've thought about this a lot, and what I would do on the first day of class is I would have the students fill out a little survey, and that I would have data on all my students and what they have. And if they have internet access at home, great. If they don't, then I come up with an individualized plan. And the options would be like, I could burn the videos onto a DVD that they can watch if they have a DVD player. Or I could put the videos on a jump drive. Maybe they have a computer at home, but they don't have a DVD. I could put them on the jump drive. The other thing that they can do is, now that our building has Wi-Fi, they can watch it, and the only requirement would be watching the video right before class. So if they wanted to come in and they wanted to sit down as a group and watch it on a little iDevice while they're sitting at lunch, great. That's great. Then they get the information, they're there, they're watching it, and they can use that technology or iPads here in school that we have available for them to watch the video. So I would make it really individualized and target each student and find a plan for each student.
Make it happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me explain.
And we have kind of a 2-year implementation plan with next year. Jesse's going to work on creating the videos while he's actually teaching with a class, etc. Maybe getting some of those flip sessions actually going if he's repeating a class second semester, and then the following year it would be fully implemented. So I'm anxious to see how things go, and very encouraging and excited for him. And with that, and if you have other questions for me at this time, you've kind of heard a pretty full view of the news here in the secondary building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rasmussen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori and Dave.
Not a whole lot, just let you know that we do have 3 elementary teaching positions posted, and I have a stack of applicants, probably about that high right now. Closes on Friday, and we'll get interviews done and get those people hired as soon as we can, so we can hit the ground running when we do our in-service on our new curriculum and things like that. So, any questions for me as we wind down the year?
Okay, thanks, Dave. Matt, through the end.
I'll give you our summer book. Also, with the elementary school going to, with the new curriculum, our ECFE, we met with David, and we're going to be making that step 2. So with our preschool program, we'll be purchasing the same curriculum, the pre-K as the elementary. So there'll be a seamless transition to there that we're going to be working with. This should be our last book that won't be mailed out. We usually don't mail out the summer one, but next year we're going to partner with, our plan is to partner with the Paynesville Area Center, the Senior Center, and we're going to do 4 books, and they're going to have 8 pages in our book, and then we're going to be mailing out all 4 brochures. So they'll have better coverage with their newsletter, and then gives them more exposure too, and then will allow us to add 1 more mailed out brochure. This one currently is just handed out to students. With that, in this book, we're starting to do more adult activities in the summer, especially with our new Adult Ed Center, which is something we want to capitalize on in the future, be able to get our information out there. A lot of our registrations now are developed through email marketing, so we were still able to get that, even though we don't mail out this brochure, we're still able to get some of the activities. Our concerts are on, as you can see, 2 other new activities. I wanted to highlight we're going to try movies under the stars at the Gazebo Park. So we're going to have 2 family movie nights out there. And then quite a few other new preschool activities through questions?
Thank you. Activities coordinator report, Max.
Yeah, we had an athletic committee meeting this past Wednesday on the 2nd. We were able to have Bruce Stang and Chris Stanley give us an update on where they're at on the grandstand project. And basically, the short story is that they're waiting on the county from FEMA, but it sounded like we didn't adopt a certain city ordinance that we needed to in order to get the shelter, but the good news was the city didn't have the ordinance, so somehow it worked out in the end, and they're waiting to hear back from FEMA, and it sounds like something's gonna either happen this fall or this spring. If, you know, the thought is that this is a facility that's gonna last hundreds of years. If they do any work on it now without hearing from FEMA, it disqualifies them for the grant, so to jump the gun just for one sports season doesn't seem worth it. And we had an opportunity to review the leadership policy in our activities handbook, heard from students, had some discussion on that, and the general consensus was that the penalty was a bit harsh for where it's at. We're going to be continuing. I'm going to be getting some feedback from coaches as well on that and putting together a proposal for that. A little bit more important topic as far as on the school standpoint, that we discussed the activities participation prerequisite information, which this is a sample packet, but what the board should be aware is that without a policy like this in place, if any student has an IEP that calls for one-on-one teaching or one-on-one instruction, if you don't have a prerequisite information or participation prerequisite, which is just a general non-discriminatory language put in place of what requirements are for somebody to participate in extracurriculars, because you don't have to offer them, you could be mandated to hire like a paraprofessional for one-on-one. So if someone goes out for wrestling, you're paying for all the hours that person, because their IEP may say one-on-one or things like that. And you know that, you know where that road could go, because your parent is probably going to be making more per hour than the coach. And and that would just be one sport. And so, you know, I'm working on putting together something. I got a sample from Redwood School District, and this is passed and in place. Has to be non-discriminatory, of course. And the idea is not to create a policy to hinder people from going out. I don't think that it would ever be the point where we would, you know, start cutting people from sports or anything like that. It's just to protect the district, that if a student does want to participate in it, the district doesn't have to supply because they don't meet the prerequisite participation policy. So that's actually a pretty big item to be aware of. And then we just discussed the end of the year hockey co-op meetings. Really, this was our first year in our 2-year agreement for the hockey co-op, so we're going forward on that. Discussed just a clarification, there's 2 head coaching positions open in our district right now. Gymnastics and girls hockey are both open. And continuing on, working with buildings and grounds as far as athletic field improvement. There's some new dugouts going up and fields being sprayed ahead of time. And then discussion, there's the West Central Conference has purchased some sportsmanship banners for gymnasiums, and addition to that, our banners for our sports teams are getting outdated, and they're certainly not current with all the different state tournaments or things like that. So we're going to be meeting with the head coaches and putting together a proposal or a game plan of what that might look like, 1 banner per sport with their achievements or something on there to clean that up and to update, do something maybe a little bit larger for the state tournament awards and things like that, just to keep those updated, because I think it's very important for our community and the people that were involved in those activities. When they come back in the gym, that's what they want to see, as well as the trophies. An idea that's being explored is that formerly used to be racks in the cafeteria, and now it's a blank wall and then there's a ledge sitting on the bottom, and right now it's just a dumping ground for backpacks and things like that, and putting trophy cases on that wall there again, just to display some of those awards that people in this community have worked hard to earn. And also we just you know, discussed a little bit as far as the corporate sponsorship program that we have and the partnership. There's discussion about some potential businesses that we need to follow up with, as well as I've been contacted by a number of businesses that have wanted to partner with the district in that endeavor. So that's been a good thing. And then the plan is over the summer months, I'm gonna get my feet in all those businesses' doors just to thank them. We send out letters and stuff like that, but just to do a personal contact with them. Aside from the rainy rescheduling and all that, this has been a very busy spring. And I don't know if you have any other questions for me, I would take them at this time.
Any questions, Rex? Okay, thanks, Rex. Athletic committee reports, I think that was
That pretty
pretty much summarized what
we did adjourn.
Dave, district wide technology report.
We met last Thursday. Main thing that we focused on was just going over the 3-year technology plan again, and what else?
Summer work schedule.
Oh,
Computers are in.
yep. Jim said the computers are in, just trying to coordinate logistically, unpacking those, swapping out the computer labs, et cetera, just making sure all that works. So that's
You're talking about that milk run that they do, because we're gonna get rid of the old big ones. I got back to my office and had an email, we're gonna have another milk run on May 30th.
Oh.
Jim and Donnie are working on that, and they'll get rid of those on 30th of May.
just the method to dispose of the computers. They'll take them without us paying for, taking monitors and stuff that has all of that toxic stuff in it, so that's for our meeting.
Okay, admin, Todd?
We met yesterday, went through the board agenda, fundraisers, there were none, reminded about doghouse news, submitting articles. Focused a lot of our meeting over the summer preparation and some of the work that needs to be done, talk about summer schools, on transportation, share the legislative update with the administration, looked at the 3-year literacy plan and anything that goes along with that. There's some information from Denny Smith, hospital food service next year. Summer painting in the work. Information in the packet, enrollment, we're down 1, we lost a 4th grader to Monticello. And then I also included the referendum guidelines in the packets there, something we got off the MSB's website there. So just kind of, when we get this thing fired up, just kind of FYI, introduce you to some things we can do. Dates. 5 o'clock tonight, we've got continuing our community education meeting, 5 o'clock in the media center. Thursday, district-wide staff development, 3:30, elementary 114. Sunday is baccalaureate at 4 o'clock at the Paynesville Lutheran Church. There was some back and forth in ministerial. It didn't look like they were going to have it this year, but then we got together, so they did schedule that. It is on the 20th at the Paynesville Lutheran Church at 4 o'clock. The 20th is also the spring break, go to 1 o'clock at the cafeteria. The 20th, Sunday's a busy day. Seniors Honors Banquet, 6 o'clock at Ron Judy's. Monday the 21st, West Central Ed Board meeting at 7:30 in the morning. I'm not sure if Dave or Lou are doing that, but you can just let me know.
Is it some time in the morning?
Tom had something scheduled that night, so they moved it to a morning meeting. I've done that a couple times, but not very often. You two can just let me know who wants to go.
Okay.
And then, next board meeting is 22nd. Back here being covered. That's all I got.
Okay. Anything else before the board?
I mentioned that Gretchen and I are in the middle of staff appreciation week.
Yes, I've heard nothing but
We
positive
rock.
comments.
Very
It's
positive.
been fun.
And I've got one thing that normally the board chair announces names at graduation unfortunately, due to a family conflict on the 3rd of June, I can't do it this year. So I'm looking for volunteers from anybody to read names at graduation. Anybody that's would be willing to do that?
I will not be there also. I have a confirmation of goddaughter that day.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
And then with that, there is a rehearsal and I should hook up
Yeah,
the board
if
on
we
that.
can hook up and see if that works for you, or we'll find a time that does.
There's practice, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it's on the 25th, and I'll hook up with you after, and we can check your schedule.
Okay, so we
Thank you,
will
Deb.
now move back to number 3 under personnel. The Minnesota Open Meeting Law requires meetings to be closed in order for the board to engage in preliminary consideration of allegations or charges against an individual subject to its authority. The meeting may be open only at the request of the individual who is subject to the meeting. The school board has been notified of allegations against an employee of the school district. The employee has not requested an open meeting. Consistent with the provisions of the open meeting law, the board wishes to consider the allegations against the employee in a closed session. For these reasons, I hereby entertain a motion to close the meeting for the purpose of preliminary consideration of allegations or charges against an employee of the school district as permitted by Minnesota statutes, section 13D.05, subdivision 2B.
I'll move.
Motion by Lou.
Second.
Second by Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify